The trial of 5 men implicated in the murder of Bafana Bafana captain Senzo Meyiwa continues in the High Court in Pretoria today. Yesterday, the lawyer representing suspect number 5, that's Advocate Zandile Mshololo, arguing, in fact accusing the NPA of denying her client a fair trial. Mshololo said her client, Fisokuhle Ntuli, could have entered a different plea had the state considered the second docket earlier. Now, the second docket implicates the people in the house when Meyiwa was murdered. They include Kelly Khumalo, her sister Zandi, Meyiwa's 2 friends, and Longwe Twala. Mnisi is in court, and he gives us an update now ahead of the start of this trial. Linda, good morning to you. Viewers will be keen to know, how did Fisokuhle Ntuli plead at the time of his arrest? Did he make some kind of confession?
Well, not at all, Ntuli. You'll remember that on the 22nd of April, they pleaded before this particular court, and they pleaded not guilty to the charges that have been brought against them. Now, this is crucial in this application that is currently being heard in this court, because then it deals with issues of disclosure, the evidence that was basically provided to the defense prior to the trial, because that plea is important and is informed by the evidence that the state has provided to the defense. You would know that these issues are dealt with at pre-trial stage, where in fact the state is obliged to hand over all the evidence that it has against an accused person. And this is what really forms the basis of this application. It's called a special entry application, which basically deals with the irregularities or the conduct that may be deemed unlawful in these proceedings, which basically have an impact on the outcome of this particular trial. So Advocate Mshololo is bringing this application for the court to note that there were, procedural irregularities which may impact on his client's right to a fair trial. She wants this to be noted on the record, because going forward at the end of this trial, or at the end of the state's case, when maybe they bring an application for a discharge, these are issues that may be raised, that because this docket, the second docket that implicates Kelly Khumalo and all the people who were in the house, was disclosed late, and it had crucial evidence which have a bearing in this case. This is where we are in terms of the evidence, and if this particular court then hands down the verdict and finds them guilty, they can use this special entry application that they made in this court at an appeals court, basically citing that we were denied the right to a fair trial, because it impacted on the manner in which we pleaded. So they're also saying that they could have pleaded differently because there are a number of options available to them. We're told that one of them could have been, pleading guilty. Another one is pleading not guilty. Another one is offering an explanation really to the court in terms of what happened, or even objecting to the charges being put to you based on the evidence that has been granted. But also it's important to note, Ntuli, that, at any stage of the trial, the defense can make an application to request for further particulars, but they believe that it was crucial to disclose this evidence, to disclose this particular docket way before they pleaded, which would then, set the trajectory for their defense. They would be better able to look at the statements that are contained in that docket and then prepare adequately for their defense.
Linda, so while you tell us what or where the court is likely to pick up from this morning, remind us just briefly the NPA's tweaked approach, and that's got to do with this very infamous second docket. They presented 2 letters to that court, but these 2 letters are completely different.
You'll remember that on the 26th of August, the state furnished the defense. That's for accused number 1 to 4 with a letter saying that, in fact, they are transferring the jurisdiction, and that is the directive of the National Director of Public Prosecutions, changing it from the South Gauteng Division to the North Gauteng Division, meaning from Johannesburg to Pretoria, really, for the DPP, the Director of Public Prosecutions in Pretoria, to take a decision post this current trial. So now, yesterday, we saw them bringing another letter that indicated in the initial letter, that of the 26th of August, that they would be handing it over to the court. Now, yesterday, when it was time for them to hand it over to the court, they had not even furnished the defense for accused number 5 with that particular letter, and they were arguing, that counsel, Zandile Mshololo, was arguing that she was not even furnished with that particular new directive. We hear the state doing an about-turn, saying that they will not be handing it over to the court, but handing it over to the legal representatives. Just wanted to make it known on the record that they will be handing it over to legal representatives. But the defense came out to press the state on this decision, saying that, number one, the letters are now different, and the state is saying that the decision will be taken after studying the docket, when in the initial letter what they had said was that the decision would be made post the trial. Number two, the issue that they dealt with those letters is the issue around handing it over, because the initial directive said we would be handing it over to the court in terms of what exactly is going to happen. They believe that that docket does not have any bearing to the current trial. The state, that is, believes that that docket does not have any bearing, but the defense arguing that it certainly does, given the extent of the evidence that is contained there. And that is why these letters need to be admitted and, marked as exhibits, because they will be quite crucial in dealing with the evidence that has now been provided by the state in terms of the second docket. So both those letters have now been admitted in the court and have been marked as exhibits.
Mnisi, thank you very much for that comprehensive update live for us at the Pretoria High Court ahead of the start of that particular trial.